Alrighty, I am back on the HO layout once again. Kind of surprised it took me as long as it did to make HO videos. This is be my third one. But today I am not here to run trains. I'm here to talk about trains, and I'm talking about a company and information about stuff that I had trouble finding information on when I was looking into this, so I figured, I better make my videos so other people could find the information they want. And this is about IHC and Mehano. Now, IHC and Mehano are the same thing, more or less. Mehano is just a company that made HO trains. It's the only scale I made, as far as I know, for IHC. And they're from Slovenia. And they're, at least most of their engines, until towards the end of their, lifespan of a company, were not considered very highly detailed or prototypical locomotives. Like this one you see here in front of me here. I'll drive that truck out of the way for you. They were not considered highly detailed. Now this is a Daylight 462 Southern Pacific. I don't know if there were any Daylight 462s. Probably should have Googled it. I could, but I didn't. If there were, they weren't exactly like this one. Now IHC makes good runners. I've had a little issues with this one. I bought it used. You get what you pay for. I didn't pay a lot of money for it. It runs. It's just a little jerky, so when it's running, jerk around a little bit. I got this Lackawanna Mikado, also IHC or Mehano. It runs pretty well. The funny thing is, one's a 462 and one's a Mikado. Now, here's the thing I was telling people about. A lot of people don't like it because they're considered cheaply made. Now, take a look at the boiler, the cab, and even the tender on this Mikado. Take a look at the boiler, the cab, and the tender on this Pacific. They're actually the same exact thing. They're the same boiler, they're the same cab, they are the same engine other than the drive gear underneath. So, but that doesn't bother me too much. It's a toy train. I really don't care. I got this, it's a 260. Had it forever. I think my dad bought it for me probably about over 10 years ago when I was a kid. Yeah, I'm younger than I sound, except I sound like I'm like 12 on the internet, which I'm not. And then this is a IHC 210-2. It's from their Premier Gold line. Now, if you're looking for a cheap, relatively cheap, I guess. Nothing in this hobby is cheap, but under the $200 range, and you could definitely find it for cheaper, I guarantee it. IHC Premier Gold line, which was the final line they ran before they went bankrupt like 10 years ago or something, is probably the best way to go. Now, it's pretty detailed. Like I've said many other times, this locomotive never existed. But it's pretty detailed. It came with a 8-pin DCC decoder in the tender. And as far as I know, there's only 3 engines they did on their Premier Gold line before they went under. It was the 210-2, which is in a bunch of different road names. A 462 Pacific, which is the same kind of engine as this, but this is in the Premier Gold line, so I imagine it's more detailed. And they did a Mikado, and all of them had the 8-pin DCC decoders in the tender, so you could convert them. I've converted this one to sound. I probably have another video about it somewhere. I have no schedule. And these ones aren't DCC ready. And honestly, DCC ready doesn't really mean what it sounds, because you still got to do a butt ton of work to actually get the DCC installed, so whatever. But yeah, I've had a lot of luck, so to say, with IHC. They aren't highly detailed, but they are really reliable engines, and I just want to put that out there because whenever I'm at a train meeting or something train related, I say IHC or Mehano, and everybody cringes at it. And IHC is affordable. The most I've ever spent on an HO train, at least, I'm also into O gauge, probably seen some of my clips up there. Most I've ever spent for an HO train is probably 170 bucks. And I consider that a lot. Typically I go to swap meets and stuff in the area I live in, and that's where I pick up most of my stuff. Now, this layout wasn't always this big, and it's been, you know, on and off working 10 years. But I have a bunch of engines, and these even aren't all of them, but the reason that there's so much empty space on these layouts, other than the few engines I pulled off the shelf, is a lot of them are Bachmann, and if you don't fork out money with Bachmann, and you go for, you know, a cheaper Bachmann engine, it's going to break. I got so many out in the dining room. I got a table full of engines, Bachmann steam engines, and all their axles are broken. They just break. Now, you know, that's why I like IHC. I pay the same, but they last longer. Right? You know, I really got to beat them into the ground. You know, with Bachmann, nothing but issues. You know, Atlas. This is an Atlas engine. Runs fantastic. I trust Atlas. I don't know who made this engine, but it's been a long time staple. Oh, well, it's Mehano. So what do you know? Well, there you go. Add it to the collection of reliable trains here. Mehano and IHC don't make detailed engines. They don't make pretty engines. They make reliable engines. Now, Bachmann, they look nice. That GS4 over there, all those engines over there, I know at least half of them are Bachmann. They're all broken. Because I'm not a very... I can't fork out a lot of money for trains. I did spend more money on trains than I'd like to admit, but I can't fork out money for trains all the time, and I can't fork them out to repair. I got a Bachmann 484 DCC equipped GS4 daylight engine, kind of like that one, except that one's 4449, the other one isn't. And its DCC system fried shortly after I got it. I didn't know they had a warranty back then. That was like 10 years ago. Probably longer, probably like 15 years ago, and I was a kid and I didn't know. I had to fill out a piece of paper and mail it back to them. So, you know, this is a Bachmann Spectrum engine. I'm keeping my fingers crossed it's not going to break. I got that Bachmann 482 Mountain engine that the connectors are sheared off on. When it comes to engines I like, though, I go with Mantua, Bachmann if you're willing to fork out a lot of money for it. Mehano if you don't want to fork out a lot of money. Atlas, Athearn Proto 2000s, that's what these are. These two E units, they're really reliable, good runners. Yeah, just, you know, when it comes to Bachmann, if you don't have a lot of buck, you don't get a lot of reliability. And that's just something I wanted to set straight. IHC, Mehano aren't bad trains. They're cheap trains, but they are reliable cheap trains at that. Alrighty, bye.